ओम सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. We are studying Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, fifth part, the master in divine mood and Narendranath, and we are in the second section of the twelfth chapter. 12th chapter, section 2. And what we have seen up till now, in section 1, we had seen Thakur was brought to Shampur for convenience of the attending devotees and for doctors. And he was put under the treatment of Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar. And then need was felt for somebody to cook his food and feed him suitably, and somebody to serve him all the day round. And the first was solved with the help of Holy Mother, and we got a good description of Holy Mother. And second was solved with the help of boy devotees. Now in this section, second section, we are talking of financial needs of Thakur plus those who come to attend on him. And this, the householder devotees were none of them rich, but they were determined to do as best as they can, as best as each individual could. And suppose their zeal would become low or drag down, Thakur would show, not deliberately, but they could see in Thakur a tremendous, extraordinary manifestation of spirituality, which held on to their faith, and they continued the financial help. And we also seen how they reacted. Somebody said, so long as my house is there, so long somebody said that there are ornaments in my wife's neck, and somebody did not talk like that but went on subscribing as much as he can. So in this way, the things were going on. Now, the another topic which has come here is that through Thakur they could see extraordinary manifestation of power. Now in that respect, we are dealing with Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar. How Thakur attracted him more and more. How changes started happening in his character. That is what we are reading. And last time we read about a song. Thakur asked somebody to sing, and Thakur was explaining the meaning, the ideas in that song, because it is in some particular terms of the Shastras to doctor. And the last line of the song said, the heart has understood, but the intellect will not. A dwarf that I am attempts at catching the moon. So heart has understood that this can never go. The difference will always remain. And the mind has not understood. Means that it has understood the gap. It has not understood how to go there. It is thinking that a dwarf, how can he catch the moon? So this is what is the last line of this song. And Thakur said it is wrong. The mind or intellect is satisfied usually, thinking that I cannot reach it. I have done maximum, more than I cannot reach it. But the heart does not accept that. Heart is that which never gives up till we reach the goal. And doctor liked this idea very much. He said that the discoveries in science are also made with the help of this heart. He knew that thing, that if we examine all the discoveries of science, we will find that they are not through reason. When the mind is stretched beyond reason, what we generally call imagination, then only these new ideas come. And the scientist puts it, he verifies it with his reason and puts it in logical terms, and we become convinced. But the actual discovery is not through reason. And this became the common point of interest, liking between Thakur and the doctor. Second point we saw there was that a boy devotee had attained bhava during that kirtan, during that when the song was being sung. And doctor examined him physically, medically, and said that one or two young men were in a trance. And the doctor said, it seems they have no consciousness of external objects like those in a fainting fit. And then he saw that when Thakur passed his hand on their chest, they came back to normal state. So doctor understood another thing about the extraordinary spiritual powers of Thakur. And he said that it seems all this is your play. Thakur corrected him, saying that not my play, not I as an individual or a man, but through me, it is God who is playing. So he said it is all mothers. Up to this, and it is said that their minds have not yet been distracted by wife, son, money, name, fame, etc. And that is the reason why they become merged in the thought of God as they listen to the glory of His name. So now we have to read para number 13. Topic same. Doctor's evolution, Thakur's guiding him. The heat, that is pride, generated by learning. The previous topic was raised again about the atheist scientist and others. And the doctor was told that although he himself accepted, so the devotees are pointing out something to the doctor. The doctor was told that although he himself accepted God and did not ascribe a limit to him, that was the second point, that you cannot put a limit to God's nature. That also was agreed between Thakur and doctor. Some scientists had done away with God. They say done away means Sankhya also, that God is not needed, not necessary, nor present in the explanation of the world phenomena. While, and others, another category, while accepting his existence, proclaimed at the top of their voice that he was what they said and could not do what they did not credit him with the power of doing. So God exists, but he cannot do this and he cannot do that. He is not all-knowing, he is not all-powerful. He may be there, he is there. Up to this, some scientists agree. The doctor said, yes, that is mostly true. But is it knowledge? Knowledge will not say that. It is the heat generated by learning. It is an indigestion of knowledge. They think that they have solved the whole mystery of the universe because they have been able to know a trifling few things of his creation. So doctor's mind is accepting God to some extent in his own way, that God is doing everything, and they have known a little of God, what is God doing. Those who do not only have studied much, but also got much experience, are free from that defect. This is the indigestion, that is, little learning is very dangerous. Little we read about science, and we say scientists have proved this and this and this and this. So, Swamiji has called him in the Raja Yoga a surface scientist. The real scientist never says so. But how few are the real scientists? Those who not only have studied much, but also got much experience. So, studied theoretically and experience of the world. If they have sufficiently done it, they are free from that defect, that we know everything. As for myself, I can never entertain such an idea. So, Newton has said that I have been able to gather a few pebbles from the beach of the ocean. I never know that water in that ocean. So this is the higher or deeper you go in science, the more you know that this is very little knowledge. Now, Thakur wanted to support that idea. You are right, said the master. With the acquisition of knowledge, there comes egoism. I am a scholar. What I understood is the only truth. Others' opinions are wrong. Now, this is a picture of the modern educated young man. And we find the same thing in Chandogya Upanishad when Shvetaketu came back from study. Man labors under many bondages. The pride of learning is one of them. You are so learned, but fortunately you have escaped that pride. This is due to His grace. So Thakur is telling even this is due to His grace. That means this is useful for spiritual growth. The humility of the doctor. Now he has his own ideas. What I have known and understood, said the doctor, a little warmed up, seems to be very little which may well be called nothing, giving no occasion for being proud of it. The more we learn, the more we understand that we have learned nothing. The little we learn, we think we have learned everything. Giving no occasion for being proud of it. So many things are there for one to learn that I think, or rather actually see, that every man knows many things which I don't know. So even without study of science and all that, everybody knows something. So instinctively or somehow or other, people know. I therefore don't feel humiliated to learn anything from anybody. That is the main thing. The modern educated young man thinks he has learned everything. It appears to me that I may have many things to learn even from them, pointing to us. I am ready to take the dust of the feet of all out of this consideration. He did not like people taking the dust at the feet because man is not superior, man cannot be God like that. But he said, I can take the dust of everybody's feet because they are in the process of learning, which I have not yet reached. There is a substance in him. So Thakur is watching this. And if it is something conducive to spiritual life, he is encouraging. The master heard it and said, showing us, I also say to them, O friend, as long as I live, so long do I learn. Jatudin bachi tatudin shigi. I have learned enough. That is never the idea. Pointing to the doctor then, the master continued, do you see how free from pride he is? He has certainly substance in him and hence such an attitude. Those who have nothing inside, they become proud. And those who have some substance inside, they feel they have nothing, they have to grow. The doctor then bade goodbye. So much time is to spend along with the medicine. The master's endeavor to lead the doctor along the path of spirituality. So gradually, as per his inclination, as per his need, but he has to be pulled towards spirituality. As the doctor's faith in and love for him increased, he does not know avatar and all that, but faith in him is increasing, love for him is increasing. The master took greater care to lead him on spiritually. Besides, another point, knowing that cultured people like talking with the cultured, the master sent now and then choice persons like Mahendranath, Girish Chandra, and Narendranath from among his disciples to have talks with the learned doctor. In contrast, people make hype before the man comes in. This is genuinely trying to see how he can change more and more. When he had become acquainted with Girish, the doctor and this helped, the doctor witnessed the Buddha Charita staged on one occasion and extolled the play to the skies, and also saw some other plays of his, Girish's. Similarly, he was charmed by a talk with Narendra and invited him to lunch one day in his house. Again, when he came to know of Narendra's proficiency in the art of music, he requested him to sing some devotional song. So gradually love for God is increasing. For him someday, a few days afterwards, when one afternoon the doctor came to see the master, Narendra sang such songs for him for 2 or 3 hours and kept his promise. So he must have said yes there, though it is not mentioned, and he kept that promise by singing. The doctor was so pleased with the singing on the occasion that therefore, before bidding goodbye, he blessed Narendra, embraced him and kissed him, saying to the master, I am very happy to see a boy like this, boy like him come to realize God. He is a gem. He will improve whatever he sets his mind to. So he understood Narendra's power to transform things around him spiritually. Thereupon, the master looked at Narendra with evident pleasure and said, Gauranga, it is said, came down to Nadia at the loud calls of Advaita. So Advaita was praying to God to send some good devotee. That is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he created a way of life. Thereupon the master looked at Narendra with evident pleasure and said, Gauranga, it is said, came down to Nadia at the loud calls of Advaita. This time, everything indeed is for him alone. Pointing out Narendra, everything for. There is a difference, huh? Because singing, Ram Prasad is a composer, and somewhere the good ideas have come to him. Now see what has happened to Narendra. This time everything indeed is for him alone. Advaita is asking the Lord to come and the Lord has come. Here we know Thakur has already come and Thakur has brought Narendra here. So there is slightly different, but the meaning is that he is the main helper in his mission. Whenever thenceforward the doctor came to see the master and Narendra happened to be present there, he would invariably listen to a few devotional songs sung by him. So this is what started happening. An example of the doctor's anxiety and behavior when medicines did not produce the desired effect. So doctor's mind is getting attracted more and more. Certain things medical science has no answer, but doctor has the answer. It was autumn, the time for the worship of Sri Durga in Bengal. At that time, the illness of the master varied from day to day. increasing on some days and decreasing on others. The medicine was not producing the desired result. One day, the doctor came and noticing that the disease was aggravated, ventured a remark. There must have been some irregularity in diet. Well, will you please tell me what you ate today? Everybody is not able to check up, so he is asking. He had his usual rice gruel, thakur, soup and milk in the morning, and milk and liquid food like barley water in the evening. He told him so. The doctor said, "No, I can't take it. There must have been some depart time from the prescribing. Well, tell me please, what vegetables were used for the soup?" The master replied, "There was potatoes, green plantains, egg fruits, that is brinjals, and also a piece or two of cauliflower." "Ah," exclaimed the doctor with a start. "You have taken cauliflower? Here, you are to grave, here you see is grave irregularity. Cauliflower is very hot and different to digest. How many pieces have you eaten?" "I did not eat a single piece," was the mild protest of the master. "But then I saw they were in the soup." The doctors replied, "It is immaterial whether you have actually seen them or in them." But there was certainly the juice of cauliflower in the soup. Your digestion has therefore been impaired and the disease has increased today. Doctor's connection. The master said, "How is that? I have not taken cauliflower, nor have I had disorder of the bowels. It is difficult to accept that the disease has worsened because of a little juice of it in the soup, because it would affect the stomach and then the other system." An example of how much harm was done by slight irregularity or violation of the rule. So doctor has his own views and they have to change. The doctor continued, "None of you have any idea as to how much harm can be done by some such slight altercation. Let the veil Let me tell you an event of my life. You will understand the matter when you hear it. My power of digestion has always been bad, doctors. I have suffered from dyspepsia from time to time. Therefore, I am very careful about viverance. have ghee and all made at home. Still, at one time, I caught a bad cold, even and contracted functions of a stubborn nature, which refused to be cured. Okay. It then crossed my mind that there was certainly something wrong regarding my food. I inquired that, could not say, I inquired but could not find. Even my intellect was it. He's telling some funny incident. Afterwards, one day, it suddenly came to my notice that the servant was feeding with a quantity of kidney bean. The oh, it suddenly came to my notice that the servant was feeding with a quantity of kidney bean the cow whose milk I took. So Thakur said, without affecting stomach how it has affected this, he gives a very long chain of so-called reasons. On inquiry, I came to know that a few months of that kidney bone held, had been had from a certain place, as no one liked to eat, at least one should catch cold. So it was brought from a particular house. It was given to the cow to eat more some things. As no, on inquiry, I came to know that a few mounds of that kidney bean had been had from a certain place. As no one liked to eat it, lest one should catch cold, that is supposed. It was given to the cow to eat for some days. The two events, namely my catching cold and feeding the cow with kidney beans, coincided perfectly. I then stopped feeding the cow with that food, and true to my guess, the cold subsided. It took me a long time on that occasion to be completely cured, and I had to spend about 4 or 5,000 rupees on change of climate, etc. The master smiled to hear it and said, "Oh dear, it is, I see, like the case of the man who passed by 1,000 trees and caught cold." So this strange joining did not appear to Thakur. All laughed, though that inference of the master was screened a little too far-fetched. Nobody trained any laughed, seeing the ridiculous nature of that. Though that inference of the doctor seemed a little too far-fetched, nobody raised any objection about it, as they saw his firm faith in it. His publication was accepted and cauliflower was at once discarded from the ingredients of the master's soup. The increase in the doctor's reverence of the master and his love for the devotees. So, the transformation, the master's love for him and his simple, sincere behavior and spiritual nature attracted the doctor towards the master mutually. Paraspar Ved Vyavartan abstract. And a sort of reverence was slowly piling up. His words and actions on one occasion clearly hear it. Bear it out. He was now regarding not only the master but also his devotees with a loving eye and became convinced that they had not made of the master a little idol, a false idol. But it is not easy to say how he looked upon the profound faith in and great devotion to the master. It seems that it appeared to him to be a little corrosive. He made clearly to understand that they did not adopt their attitude for show or for any selfish unknown, some selfish unknown, not show. No, right act of karma is being described now and then by contrast. He therefore seemed to have regarded it as something beyond his comprehension. Extreme points after that comprehension. Although he mixed intimately with the devotees, and his keen intellect was engaged in solving the problem, it remained still an enigma to him. Everything cannot be solved by buddhi, that is being said. For in spite of his being a believer in God, he was so depth influenced by Western education that he was unable to understand whom one could worship on playgrounds. Even a man as Guru or as incarnation of God, even when actually saw in him an extraordinary manifestation of the divine. So doctor won't accept a Guru. For power, he was against this attitude only because he could not understand how curse of this general education on a wife that is Saradananda Swamiji's comment. He did not believe because he could not understand it. So his enigma is being explained. For in spite of his being a believer in God, he was so deeply influenced by Western education that he was unable to understand how one could worship or pay reverence to a man as Guru or an incarnation of God, even where one actually sees in him an extraordinary manifestation of the divine plan. So that is the difference that many clear. He was against this attitude only because he could not understand it. This big nut is being cracked here. So, Swamiji, if you have to say, don't go to his chana. It is the higher food. He was against this attitude only because he could not understand it. The cause of this general antagonism to the educated modern to it is not far to seek. Generations of thought disciples of these who living and are being worshipped in the world as incarnations of God. That means in Thakur's presence, this the cause of the general antagonism of the educated modern to it is not far to seek. Generations of disciples of those who are being worshipped in the world as incarnations of God exaggerated certain things connected with their lives in such a way that they have made it responsible for others to believe this. Let the scientist requires a proof. Connected with their lives in such a way after they have made it impossible for others to believe this. The disciples, no doubt, did so in their zeal to propagate the glory of their masters. So other things will become smaller. But this false zeal has evoked antagonism. One day the doctor said plainly before the devotees in the connection, I can comprehend love, worship, etc. Or whatever else you say regarding God. But a world of confusion arises on seeing so that infinite God is said to have come down in runs. Doctor is sharing in order to magnify their beloveds, they have said so many things, but that produces a reverse reaction in the minds of the people who hear. But this false zeal has evoked antagonism. One day the doctor said plainly, before the master in this connection, I can understand love, worship, etc., or whatever else you as that infinite God have said to have come down to man, came down. It is difficult to understand that his incarnation himself as the son of Yashoda and the son of Mary. The son of Sachi and so on. The host of scores have ruined the country. People who talk Jai Krishna, Jai Ruchi, etc. is useless. The master smiled at these words and said to us, what what does he say? It is, however, true that so the names of incarnation, sons of Yashoda, son of Miri, the son of Shachi, that is Tetama Prusma, and so that host of sons has ruined the country. The master smiled at these words and so said to us, what does he say? It is, however, true that love-minded fanatics many a time wanted to make them apply so great minds and act in the way the master smiled at these words and said to us, what does he say? It is, however, true that low-minded fanatics many a time seem to make them appear so great and act in such a way that these reactions are uh, naturally produced in people's mind. So this is exaggeration. Now this is not very rational. So the doctor's opinion about incarnations or God and his objections to the history, his surprise at the times Bhava Samadhi at the time of the annual Durga festival. Okay. So Thakur put them to argument with him. Girish Chandra and Narendranath had from time to time many occasions then worked its Narendra controversies with the doctor on the aforesaid opinion of his about God's incarnation. As a result of which he became a little worried of giving appear or giving expression to such an opinion without due consideration. That is the main point. For it was proved that science method, for it was proved that many reasonable arguments might be given against it. Many arguments could be given against it, but what could not be explained to the dog by reason. Therefore, by the extraordinary love and sweetness of the masters and by the wonderful spiritual manifestation, that is what I brought today, in him, which the doctor saw with his own eyes. Enough for the day. Enough for the day, huh? Time is there. But the narration continues about changes in doctor. We shall see this, please, on the next.
Yeah.